Taped from New Jersey, it's the SNL Nerds, the show where two comics from New Jersey nerd out about Saturday Night Live. I'm your co-host, Darren Patterson.
And I'm your co-host, John Trumbull.
Hey, John Trumbull, there you are. Hey.
Yeah, we're doing a second take because we had a little audio problems in our first attempt to start the show.
Yeah,
so Darren's very enthusiastic that he can hear me and I can hear him. And this is conducive to making a podcast.
Yes, the basic things we need to make a podcast are working. Hooray!
Yay! Nowhere to go but up.
That's right. Audio, sound, it's working. And so, I mean, my God.
We
Sky's
can
the
hear
limit.
each other's words.
Nothing but success from here on out.
Yeah, once we get all the kinks worked out, but man, by the time we reach episode 200...
Yeah. The first 100 episodes are just a warm-up to get us loose.
Yep.
But when we hit 200, then we hit our stride, baby.
All gold, baby.
Solid gold.
Yeah.
How you been, sir?
Doing okay. Decent week. How about you?
Not too bad, not too shabby, living a life, chasing a dream. You know, here on the East Coast, it snowed for like an hour, and then it stopped, and then the sun came out, and then it got up to like 58 degrees or something. So, you know, the Earth is doing what it should. Nothing to see here. We're all going to live to a ripe old age.
Yep. So.
I like to bring the party right on down, off the top.
Uh-huh.
But maybe I'll bring it back up again by announcing that our good friend at SNL, they announced who is going to be hosting a musical guesting for the next 3 episodes. How about that?
That is true. That is the thing that they have done. Well, they'd already announced the John Mulaney LCD sound system for February 26th, but they announced who's going to be hosting and musical guesting for the 2 episodes after that. So that's cool.
Yeah. So March 5th, after the John Mulaney ep, we got Oscar Isaac and Charlie XCX up on the lineup there. And that should be a really interesting show. I mean, again, Oscar Isaac, basically known for drama, being a dramatic actor. Guys, if you haven't seen Ex Machina or Inside Llewyn Davis, I highly recommend you watch those movies. I really enjoyed both those films. He's an actor who has like a sort of a very intense type of intensity, like a smoldering intensity to him. Of course, you remember him from the most recent Star Wars films, Dune, and he, of course, is going to be in Moon Knight on Disney Plus at the end of March. This should be an interesting thing. Like I said, he's mostly known for drama, so we can see how he pulls off the comedy. What are your thoughts on Mr. Oscar Isaac?
I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing him host. I've enjoyed him in the things that I've seen him in. I'm looking forward to the Moon Knight show. So, yeah. And Charlie XCX, she's coming up and making up the appearance she missed. She was supposed to be the musical guest on, was it the Paul Rudd episode? Am I remembering that correctly?
It was the Paul Rudd episode, yes. And then
okay.
we all know what happened with that.
I mean, honestly, I said this on Twitter, but it's like, SNL in the last couple of years, they've had so many people have to cancel and reschedule and all that, usually for COVID-related reasons, that I do get a weird sense of deja vu every time SNL announces a new host musical guest combination now. So, yeah, but I mean, it's nice that she's coming back and making up for the appearance that she missed.
Yeah, and I think another fun little tidbit is this won't be Oscar Isaac's first time on SNL, because if you remember, he had a little cameo during the Jason Sudeikis episode on What Up With That.
I did not remember that, so thank you for that little tidbit.
Yes,
my bit has been appropriately titted.
Oh my.
So, and then on March the 12th, we have Zoe Kravitz and Rosalia as the musical guest. I'm not familiar with Rosalia. Are you?
I am not familiar with Rosalia, so I'm not sure what to expect. But I am familiar with Zoe Kravitz, Lenny and Lisa's kid. She's of course she's going to be a Catwoman in the upcoming Batman movie.
Yeah.
She was on the show High Fidelity, the remake of it on Hulu. Big Little Lies, the last Mad Max film. She's building up quite the film career uh, in the past few years. So,
Hmm.
X Men First Class, of course, she was in, and
What's she
yeah,
doing
so
now?
X Men First
Was she
Class.
was she Angel? The
She
other
was
Angel?
she was Angel, yes.
Okay, yeah. I
So, yeah,
smallish part, but okay.
yeah, smallish part, but yeah, she's kind of building up like a bit of a resume, and again, somebody who's primarily known for dramas and whatnot. So we'll be able to see how her comedic chops are on that episode as well.
Hmm. Yeah. So good choices. Um, Man, we're just flying through this season. It's where the season is going to be over before we know it.
It really is. I'm actually like I had a chance to think about. It. I was like, wow, we're almost into March already. I don't know. For some reason,
Mhm.
it feels like the year just began, and no, we're like a 3/4 of the way into it. Is that if my math is correct?
We've only got about, I think, like six more hosts after this batch. So, yeah.
Wowie, wowie zowie. So
So, but what is time?
I don't know. Does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? Any
Answer to both of those questions? No.
okay. And if that's for all our Chicago fans out there.
Yes, that was for
You know,
you guys.
yes, exactly. So yeah, so those are the shows coming up. Should be exciting. I'm really looking forward to John Mulaney's monologue next
Oh
week, and I
yeah,
really like I'm just frothing at the bit just to hear what he has to say about
he
everything
will
that's
have things to talk about. Yes.
he yeah, like if again, I know I said it before, but I swear, if he talks about anything else other than the whirlwind year he's had, I will be thoroughly disappointed.
Yeah, rehab, a divorce, a new relationship, and a baby. Did I get everything?
He's also gonna be on tour starting
Yeah, that's
next
true.
month.
That's
So
true.
yeah, those other things, those were the biggies.
And
So I'm
he didn't get married to Olivia Munn. He's just in a relationship and has a kid with Olivia Munn, right?
correct, but although I have heard, the rumor mill is that they're not together anymore, but I haven't seen anything to corroborate or corroborate that. So it's just like a rumor at this point.
Right. Well, maybe he'll clarify his current relationship status.
Indeed,
So,
it's complicated.
yeah. He'll change his Facebook status on air.
It's complicated.
So, but until SNL comes back. Oh, wait. Actually, there was a little bit of other news that we have to cover. Some sad news that happened this week. They announced that the great Ivan Reitman passed away.
Yeah, this was a bit of a shocker. I didn't know he was ill or he was, under the weather or what. But yeah,
Yeah.
the great Ivan Reitman has passed away. Of course, director of Ghostbusters, which we've talked about in the podcast. One of the
Mm-hmm.
producers of Animal House, which we've talked about in the podcast. Stripes, which we've talked about on the podcast. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just I don't know, just one of the greats, one of the men who's given us numerous classic, timeless comedies throughout the year.
Yeah. Yeah. It was surprising to hear. We didn't, they did not announce a cause of death, so we don't know what happened there. But our best to his family and friends. So very sorry
Yeah,
to hear that. We
yeah.
talked about doing an Ivan Reitman movie for this week in tribute, but unfortunately our guest wasn't able to do it schedule wise. So we're putting a pin in that, and we'll circle back to that because there are still a few Ivan Reitman movies with an SNL connection that we've not covered yet.
Right, like exactly. I mean, Meatballs. I think but yeah, everything else we've kind of done. Stripes, like I said,
Well,
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters too.
Uh, I don't know. It'd be awesome if there was a SNL connection in Twins or Dave, but I don't believe there is. So rest in peace, Mr. Ivan Reitman. And yes, you will live in the hearts of us here at the SNL Nerds.
Yeah. So until SNL comes back next week with John Mulaney and LCD Sound System, we decided to cover yet another SNL movie, a movie starring an SNL cast member. That is what we do during the off weeks here at the SNL Nerds. And you had an interesting suggestion. You were like, "Hey, it's February. It's Black History Month. We should do a movie with a connection to Black History Month." And I thought that sounded like a good idea because we hadn't done that before.
Yeah. So I thought about, well, a who's a famous and amazing SNL performer who is also black, and then of course I immediately think of Eddie Murphy, as I want to do, and
Mm-hmm.
then I suggested this film because I really feel this is like one of his most underrated films, and
We should
that
say
is
what this film is, Darren.
oh, we should.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I was okay if you want to go that way with it, sure. We're
Yeah.
talking about the film Bowfinger with Steve Martin and Mr. Eddie Murphy.
Yes, from 1999. I've actually got the DVD here that I borrowed from my local library. I can read the description real fast just to refresh people's memories if you don't. Because I think this movie's fallen down the memory hole a little bit.
Yeah, like well, you do the you break down the you write you talk about the description. I'll
Okay,
have my
okay.
thoughts on why.
So we got how does Bobby Bowfinger, Steve Martin, Hollywood's least successful director, get Kit Ramsey, Eddie Murphy, Hollywood's biggest star in his ultra low budget film, any way he can, with an ingenious scheme and the help of Kit's eager and nerdy brother Jiff. Spoilers. An
Mm,
ambitious and sexy wannabe, Heather Graham, and an over the hill diva, Christine Baranski. By the way, hurtful to Christine Baranski.
ouch.
um, uh, Bowfinger sets out to trick Kit Ramsey into the performance of a lifetime. Enjoy the fun with Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin together for the first time in the hit comedy Bowfinger. Yeah, what? Why call Christine Baranski's character an over the hill diva? There is like not one old joke about her in the movie. Yeah, she's a
Yeah,
diva a bit, but there is literally nothing about her being old. And I looked it up. Christine Baranski was like 47 when this movie came out.
yeah. I feel like maybe somebody at the DVD writing place was like had a personal grudge against Christine Baranski. Was
Yeah,
like, nah,
I,
fuck.
I think that's the only explanation. I'm just like, what? And also, yeah, we they just totally spoil the plot point that Eddie Murphy is playing his own brother as well as Kit Ramsey in the movie, because you don't find that out until like halfway through the movie.
Yeah, that's a. I mean, but then again, that plot point really doesn't come into. Does it really come into play? You think in the movie at all? But it's
Well,
a nice little
it's
surprise.
something the characters are surprised to find out when it is brought up. So it's
Right.
I feel like it is supposed to be a surprise for the audience as well. So I feel like maybe it's not the type of thing you should give away on the back description of the DVD.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like you said, this movie came out August 13th, 1999. Had a budget of 55 mil, made 98.6 mil. So it was like I'd say a modest hit, or it made its money
Hmm.
back. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I remember when this movie came out. Like it's like you said, it really didn't make that big of a splash. Like I remember it came out, and I think a few people were talking about how good it was, but it did. It really kind of fell under the radar. And I think
Hmm.
part of the reason of that is because of the movies that came out around that time. And like I looked into it, the little research, and I saw the week before this movie came out, Mystery Men had come out was came out what
Hmm.
else? Mystery Men, the Thomas Crown Affair, the remake with Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo,
Hmm.
the Iron Giant, and a small film
Okay,
called
the Iron
Six.
Giant was not taking any business away
Oh,
from
really?
Bowfinger. Iron Giant did not do well in the theaters.
Did it
Um,
not? Oh, maybe
no,
that was what.
Warner Brothers totally dropped the ball on the Iron Giant publicity wise. People did not discover that film until it came to DVD.
Okay. All right, so
But
maybe not the Iron Giant. Maybe not
it's
Mystery
well
Men
known
either. Then.
now, and deservedly so. But no, it did not do well in theaters at all.
Okay. Well, maybe all right. So maybe all the attention went to the other film that came out a week before this film, a little thing called The Sixth Sense came out.
Yeah, yeah, that was definitely a sleeper hit. So yeah.
Yeah, and also like the poster, I'm not crazy about. It really doesn't make you want to see the film
Well, the
either. It's
poster
just
is just basically selling it on the star power of Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy together, and I think that's a good way to go. Um,
I, I guess so.
yeah.
But yeah, this movie written by Steve Martin and directed
Hmm.
by the great Frank Oz, and this is the fourth time Steve Martin and Frank Oz have worked together on a film. Of course, the other three being Little Shop of Horrors, House Guest or House Sitter, I believe, and
Yeah.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that this was a Frank Oz film. I think I'd sort of come to think of it as a Steve Martin project because he wrote it as well, starred in it. So yeah, when Frank Oz's name came up on the screen, I was like, oh wow, okay, yeah. So that's neat.
Um, yeah. So, but yeah, this is like a film had a pretty, like I said, pretty decent cast. Produced by Brian Grazer, Frank Oz directed it, written by
Hmm.
Steve Martin. But yeah, it didn't really pop, with audiences until like much later. I think even now, a lot of people haven't seen this film.
I
Like
know I
it
didn't
has
see
its
this film until it hit DVD, so I came a little late to the party on this. I didn't make it to the theaters to see this, but and this was the first time I'd revisited in probably at least a decade. You rewatched this film not too long ago for another podcast, right?
Yes, I rewatched this for my friend Nigel Fulton's podcast, the Monday Murphy podcast. It's a podcast dedicated entirely to Eddie Murphy, and he has on
Mm.
guests and talk about like a specific Eddie Murphy movie each episode, and then but he's had on people that have worked with Eddie Murphy, and it's all Murphy centric. And I rewatched the film for that podcast, and the second I remember I did watch it around '99 when it first came out, like on I think I watched it on DVD or something. I thought it was okay, but like
Hmm.
then I rewatched it and I sort of picked up on a lot of things I missed the first time around, and I was like, oh wow, this is a really funny movie. This is
Hmm.
like really sharply written and pretty hilarious. Like I don't know how I missed all the stuff the first time around. So, but yeah, that's another reason why I wanted to suggest this film because I feel like it's a movie that maybe people didn't get to the first time when it was out, or for some reason it just fell under their radar. But I think this deserved its moment in the sun. Good sir.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I think it's a well done film. It's like you said. I mean, it's Eddie Murphy. He stars as Bobby Bowfinger, who's sort of a he's like sort of a low grade producer. He's one of those guys who's just scrambling to get his pictures made in Hollywood, and
Right.
he's found a script that he really likes. It starts out with him just literally finishing the script, and then he calls up the screenwriter and he's like, "I love this script. I want to make this movie. You can quit your day job." and
Right.
and then he's like, "How the heck am I gonna make this movie?" Because he doesn't have a whole lot of money.
Yeah. By a whole lot, we pretty much mean none. And
Yeah.
like I said, like it's Steve Martin, Bobby Bowfinger. He's a very low budget film producer, and yeah, like you said, he finds this film from this guy named written by this guy Afrim, who is an accountant and part-time receptionist. But of course, like everybody in L.A., they fancy themselves a screenwriter or an actor and want to be in the biz. And he, he writes a script called Chubby Rain, which I
Yeah.
mean, the title alone is interesting.
It's not a
And
good title. Not a good
no,
title.
not at all, not at all.
No, because hey, why do you want to waste a good title on a fake movie within your movie? Nah, just call it Chubby Rain, and your job is done.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, so we began to film with Steve Martin kind of hustling, trying to get the money together to get this film made. And apparently he has like people who he's worked with before, like I said, like Christine Baranski's character, Carol, who is
Hmm.
the over the hill actress, I guess, according to the DVD.
Yeah.
Um, and like she is like her and Bobby know each other very well, and Bobby always
Yeah.
is promising her work, and he's
she
never like
she's
coming through.
she's calling him up at the beginning. She's like, I've got to go out of town for a part in a touring production of Cats. And he's like, no, 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 stay. I've got something going. I'm getting something off the ground. And we see him like just running around. He hustles the script. He goes over, he finds out a restaurant where a big time producer, Jerry Renfro, played by Robert Downey Jr., is eating, and he like fakes a phone call there and just kind of generates interest in the script that way.
Right. I do like how he, like in the beginning minutes, you see he's like a total hustler. He's a bit of a thief, a con man. Like he pretty much
Mhm.
steals us. Not pretty much. He does steal a suit from a suit store to
Yeah.
like he goes in his old dusty suit to a suit store. He looks at another suit. The camera pans away, it pans back. You see he's wearing the suit, and his dusty suit is on the hanger, and he just
Hmm.
puts it back. And like the way he hustles a car to get there, because he has a friend named Dave who's played by Jamie Kennedy, and his friend Dave is kind of his eyes and ears throughout Hollywood, and he ends up being his camera director during the film. And Dave's able to get him a car with the car phone in it, and I really like
Yeah.
this part where he takes the car phone out of the car, because this is back when car
Right.
phones were like built into the car with the cord.
Yeah,
Remember
it's
cords?
1999, so we're not quite in the cell phone world that we are today. So yeah, he uses the car phone, and it's from a car that like Jamie Kennedy's supposed to be parking, but
Right.
yeah, so he's like, oh, you have to get this car back in 45 minutes because the person's going to be ready to pick it up. I'd totally forgotten that Robert Downey Jr. was in this movie. It's not a big part, and it's before Downey's comeback, or maybe it's on his like second comeback, something like that. It was when Downey Jr. was still having his troubles. I would say. I think
He
that's safe to
was,
say.
yeah, he was persona non grata in
Yeah,
Hollywood. We'll say that.
yeah, but it's kind of funny just to see Robert Downey Jr. in like a minor supporting role, where he's got what, maybe 3 scenes in the movie.
Yeah, it's like a really small role, but
Hmm.
I guess at the time he was taking it because it's kind of all he could get, or I don't know.
It's
But
work.
yeah, I mean, but he's good. Like he's a dude
Yeah.
that grew up in Hollywood, so he knows these Hollywood types, these agents and whatnot. And I did like this. There was one scene where, because later on in the scene, Bobby Bowfinger sits down next to Jerry Renfro, Robert Downey Jr.'s
Hmm.
character, and he's like pretending he's talking to no one on the cell phone, and he's trying to
Right.
generate interest. And he says, "Oh, hey, Jerry, how's it going? It's Bobby Bowfinger. We work together in a thing." And
Yeah.
things like that. At one point, he says, "I got this hot script. Universal has been begging me for this script," and of course, that's like a wink to the fact that Universal actually put out the movie Bowfinger. So
Hmm.
it's like that's like a little wink and a nod, which I enjoyed. And of course, immediately, Robert Downey Jr.'s character can tell that Bobby Bowfinger is full of poop, like he's just
Yeah.
some 2-bit hustler with no name. So he
Yeah.
says,
Like
"Yeah,
he pretends that he has Kit Ramsey, big superstar, action star, on the phone, and Downey's like, "Let me talk to him." And then, of course, Martin pretends that he loses him on the phone, and he's just like, "Oh, these cell phones, they're horrible," and you can still see the cord from the car dangling from the phone. So, yeah, so
dangling."
Downey's not buying Steve Martin's BS for a moment.
Right. So basically, he calls his bluff, saying, "Hey, look, if you get Kit Ramsey to be in your film, I'll greenlight it." And like it's a
Yeah,
way,
and
and
I feel like he's still like basically just telling Steve Martin what he wants to hear to get rid of the guy as quickly as possible. But Steve Martin, I think this kind of goes over his head, or he just wants to believe it so badly. But he's like, well, if I can get Kit Ramsey to star in this movie, then haha, we got a movie. Uh, so
right. And then we cut to an introduction of Kit Ramsey in what I think is probably one of the funniest scenes in this thing.
uh
I
huh.
mean, my God, this scene is amazing. Just because we're introduced to Kit Ramsey, we find out He's pompous. He's also extremely paranoid, and
Hmm.
he's a bit neurotic. We see him like really fast talking to his agent, and it's amazing kind of dialogue he has with his agent. Like at one point, he's talking to his agent who's right next to him and says, "Hey, you know what? Well, how come the script doesn't have a catchphrase? I want my own catchphrase. I want like Arnold Schwarzenegger type of catchphrase. Like he has Hasta la Vista. I
Hmm.
want something." And the agent says, "Well, no, there's a catchphrase in there. Like there's a line where you say, 'Oh, nice to meet you, Cliff,' and then you push the guy off a cliff." And then
Yeah.
and then Kit Ramsey says, "Oh, see, no, that's too cerebral for the people. They got to remember the guy's name is Cliff, and then I push him off a cliff. That's the whole thing. That's too much thinking. We're trying to make a movie here, not a film." I
Yeah.
don't know
And
that
he's
line.
also, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that line. That line says a lot. We're trying to make a movie, not a film.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks that's how Hollywood people really talk.
And he also is critical of the script because he was like, "Oh, there are this many K's in the movie, and that's divisible by three, so it's like KKK." So he's like seeing all these connections that aren't there. And we also find out that he is a member of this cult called Mindhead, which is so not Scientology, you guys.
That's
Totally
right.
not Scientology. um,
That's right. Scientologists. If you're listening, we're totally not talking about you. This movie is not about you, Scientologists. We don't want no beef. Oh
I mean,
God.
he goes to the meeting for this group called Mindhead, and he meets with Terrence Stamp, the great Terrence Stamp, who's his guru, and he runs through like the premises. There's happy premise number one is there are no aliens, so completely different from Scientology,
Complete.
who believe that aliens fly around in F-16s and steal souls and uh, all sorts of stuff.
Right. I'll give this to Steve Martin. He was making fun of Scientologists before it was cool to do it. Like I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure Scientology has been around for a while, but like 1999, I
Mhm.
don't remember too much, too many people talking
I
about it.
think, yeah, I think back then Premiere Magazine had done a few exposés of Scientology, but it still wasn't real widely known, and it wasn't widely known just how nutty Scientology was and is. So yeah, yeah. So he's getting a little ahead of the curve. So yeah, hats off to Steve
Yeah,
Martin.
yeah. So yeah, Kit Ramsey. We see he's extremely paranoid. He might be kind of schizophrenic a little bit because like he's constantly telling himself to keep it together. That's his mantra: keep it
Hmm.
together, keep it together. And then we also learn that he has this strong need or is obsessed with showing his penis to the LA Laker girls, which
Sure,
is like,
yeah.
which
I
is
mean,
all right. That's a direction to go
he
into. All
wants to
right.
show it to the Laker girls. Yeah, he has a strong compulsion, and Terrence Stamp is like, yeah, maybe that's not the best use of your time. And so
Yeah,
he's trying to counsel Kit Ramsey to keep it together, but yeah, Kit Ramsey not all there. And we see Steve Martin. He manages to get his script to Kit Ramsey. He kind of sneaks in to his estate to the in from the front gate of his mansion and gets the script to him by pretending it's a script that he was waiting for. By the way, Eddie Murphy's home in this movie, Stately Wayne Manor from the 1960s Batman series. So
ooh,
yeah,
lovely,
so he lived
nice,
in Wayne Manor.
huh. Nice, nice. Uh,
Uh,
but yeah, like yeah, like Bobby Bowfinger pretends to be from Paramount. He says, and then
mhm.
I think at that point, Kit says, "I'm not expecting he's from Paramount." It's like I said, "Oh, did I say Paramount? I meant Universal." I said, "Oh,
Right.
Universal, right? Maybe, yeah. Let me see that."
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then of course, then Bobby says, "Oh no, the script is butter. It's butter. It's Jiggy Baby." And then he mentions Mindhead, and then that's how he's able to get it to him. And then like Kit slowly realizes he's not from Mindhead and throws him and the script out.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So
So it's going swimmingly.
it's going fantastic. So then
Good.
he goes. Yeah. So then Bobby goes. So then Bobby goes back to his people. He looks them in the eye, and he could tell that they're really hanging their hopes on him and the fact that this movie gets made. So of course he lies
Mhm.
and says, "Oh yeah, no, Kit Ramsey agrees to be in this film. We're going to do it. We're making this movie. Everybody's happy." And of course, Bobby is is like, oh, how do I do this now? And he has the idea to shoot this film without Kit knowing he's in it.
Right. He's
Which
just going to shoot it on the sly, and he's going to enlist all his actors, and we're basically just going to ambush Kit Ramsey out in public and
right.
build a movie around
Which
around those moments. And
look,
since the movie's about aliens, Kit's going to be freaking out at all the strange people acting around him. Um,
right.
there was, I just want to mention one thing. Steve Martin, at one point early in the movie, he mentions that he's 49, and I'm and I'm 49 right now. So I was just like, oh, I am feeling that. I looked it up. Steve Martin was actually over 49 at this point in his life, but I was just like, oh my god.
I know it's just like that silver white hair has always been with him for a while, so it's always hard to
It
tell how old
It
he is.
throws you. Yeah, you always kind of think of Steve Martin as being older than he is because he's had white hair since like the late 70s. So, yeah, tough to gauge his age. But I was like, I am not supposed to be the same age as Steve Martin. This is, oh my God, I'm getting old. So,
Up,
yeah,
upsetting.
so this movie instigated a midlife crisis in me.
Oh, I'm so
So
sorry.
that was fun.
I look forward to seeing you in your new leather jacket and your newly purchased Maserati, good sir.
Yes, yes. And speaking of midlife crises, we need a much younger woman for for Steve Martin to date. I keep saying Eddie Murphy. Um, so we have Heather Graham, who comes in as what's her
Daisy.
character name? Daisy. Okay, and she literally is getting off the bus from Ohio at the beginning of this movie, and she's ready to make it in Hollywood. She's an aspiring starlet. She's given herself like 1 week to make it, which seems like a totally reasonable time frame.
Yeah, if you don't make it after 1 week, give it up.
Yeah, yeah, and I think
Yeah,
that's just a good rule for life.
yeah.
Just try anything for 1 week. If you're not where you want to be by the end of that week, yeah, give it up.
After 7 days, if you're not there, it wasn't meant to be.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, we see her, and she's in like this. She's like looks very young and innocent, and we think, oh well, she's just this young aspiring actress who's going to get chewed up by this town. But yeah, her character takes an interesting turn over the course of the movie.
Oh, indeed. I mean, do you want to talk? Do you want to? Should we
Yeah,
talk about that?
let's go ahead. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So it's like you said. Like, you see her getting off the bus. It's a stereotypical, girl from the Midwest. Pigtails. The first thing she says
Mhm.
as soon as she gets off the bus, she asks somebody, "Oh, excuse me, where do I go to be an actress?"
Yeah,
And you think she's going to be this kind of, like you said, like naive type of woman, but as the movie goes on, we see she's a lot more savvy than we give her credit for, and I mean, there's no right way to say it, but she basically sleeps her way to the top.
she's leapfrogging her way through the cast and crew of the movie. I mean, she starts out she seduces one of her co-stars who's like a young guy in the movie, and then she goes to the screenwriter, which seems like a step down. um, and she's basically just trying to get her part increased throughout the movie. Then she moves on to Bowfinger, and then she moves on to another person starring in the movie who we haven't gotten to yet. and
Right.
I read in the IMDb trivia that the character Daisy was based on Anne Heche, who Steve Martin was dating at the time. I think she was dating. I think Anne Heche dated Steve Martin before she had her very famous relationship with Ellen DeGeneres. Do I have that right?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Uh,
I think Steve Martin was working through some things.
yeah. Life is imitating art here. But I also, yeah, I do remember like Anne Heche was like around in the late '90s. She was kind of a big deal for a minute, and like
Mhm.
I mean, it was that, and like I don't know, wasn't she also said to have like been abducted by aliens at some point or something? There was,
Yeah, she had her um, she had her mental problems. She had some sort of I don't know if it's fair to. I guess delusions. I guess you could say.
Right.
And I think, yeah, I think she's worked that out. I think she's got the help and meds she needed,
Yeah.
and she ended up getting married, didn't she? After
I,
she and Ellen broke up, she like got married to a guy, I think.
yeah, I think that's the other thing too, because like I think when her and Ellen DeGeneres, Ellen DeGeneres were together, people were happy for them, but then they broke up, and she ended up with a guy, like a straight
Yeah,
guy, and people were like, "Oh wait, we thought you were gay." And I mean, I know sexuality is fluid and everything, but
yeah.
I know a lot of people kind of were giving her a little bit of side eye, thinking, "Oh, did she just
It was a weird thing
use?"
because for a while there in the late '90s, like Ellen and Anne Heche were like the poster people, the poster children for it being gay in Hollywood, because it wasn't as open of a thing back then. I mean, Ellen DeGeneres coming out and saying, "Yeah, I'm gay and I'm in a relationship with a woman," that was
That was a big
that was
deal.
just not really done back then.
Not at all. So to have them be out and proud at that time.
Mhm.
That was a huge deal. So to go from that to Anne H being like, "Oh, I'm not gay anymore, and I'm just
Yeah,
gonna marry this dude."
yeah.
I
I
think that
don't I
rubbed
don't
up.
know if she ever like actually denied she was gay or not. It's been ages since I followed any of that story, but
Okay, yeah. You're right.
yeah,
I'll take that back. Yeah, she did. But like for her to marry a man, that I know that rubbed some people the wrong way. I'll say that.
yeah. I think they took that as, I guess, a betrayal. So yeah, so um, if this character is inspired by Anne Heche, which apparently it was, yeah, not the most favorable interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, I could see a lot of people like. I don't know if something like that would fly nowadays, because it'd be like, oh, it's just pretty blonde woman sleeps her way to the top, perpetuating that
Uh-huh.
stereotype. But I do see that angle of it. But you could also say this doesn't paint the guys in a very flattering light either, where all a woman
That's
has to
true.
do, all a woman has to do is show you the goods and give you uh, give you access to the love tunnel, and you'll do whatever you want, or
There
you'll do
is
whatever.
there is a I think it might be my favorite scene or favorite exchange in the movie was at one point after she is hooked up with Steve Martin's Bowfinger character. Um, he discovers that she's seduced somebody else involved with production, and he goes up to her and he's like, "Can I go talk? Can I talk to you privately for a minute?" And they excuse themselves. They go outside, and he's like, "Well, why did you sleep with this person?" And she just, what did she say? I didn't write down she was like, "Oh, I didn't realize that was a big deal." And he goes, "Oh, I never thought of it like that." And she goes, "Oh, okay. So are you good? Good, good." And then they just walk,
Yeah,
and it's so quickly resolved. It's very funny. He just
yeah,
turns on a dime.
yeah. I think at that point it's they both realize, yeah, this isn't love or anything. We're just kind of using each other, and that's also like
Yeah,
they also kind of allude to that. They don't allude to it; they actually say it during the scene where Daisy goes over to Bowfinger's house to quote unquote talk, and
yeah,
like they end up dating, not dating, but like they're having this lovely night, and they're talking, and
mm,
they're trying to connect. At one point she says, "Oh yeah, I love music too. Do you love Smashing Pumpkins?" And Bowfinger says, "Yeah, I love to do that." And then
yes,
uh
yeah,
at, and then like when they're hooking up, she excuses herself to use the bathroom, and as she's using the
mhm,
bathroom, Bowfinger kind of looks at her purse and sees her bank card, so he takes
yes,
her bank he steals her bank card, her ATM card, and then as they hook up, she says, "I will never, I'll never use you," and he says, "I'll never betray your trust," even though that's
yeah.
exactly what each of them
And
were
then they
doing.
they cut to him getting like tons of film and equipment the next day on her card. So yeah, Bowfinger does not have a lot of capital on his date with Daisy. Uh, they're literally eating TV dinners together, uh,
Oh
and
yeah,
at
yeah.
this,
At one point, he fills like a bottle of wine with tap water.
yeah, yeah.
Classy.
And early in the film, he he's talking about his financing. And he's like, well, I've put $1 away every week since I was 10 years old. And now I have like 2,000 something dollars. And that's really all you need to produce a movie. Uh, like all the salaries and stuff, all the money that's on screen is just really about $2,000. So
Right.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's why he's like scrambling so much throughout this movie, and why they decided to shoot this movie on the sly. And he's deceiving pretty much everyone involved with the production to some degree or another. He tells the other actors in the movie, "Oh yeah, no, Kit Ramsey, he doesn't want to be bothered. He's some method. He wants to just pretend that he's the character. So you're not supposed to approach him at all outside of the scenes when we're not shooting." So everyone's basically just assaulting him in the street.
Yes, it's very guerrilla, as you could say.
Yeah.
And speaking, so we have our cast with the the people that he knows. We should really talk about how he gets the crew for this
Hmm.
film, because that scene was
That's a very
hilarious.
funny scene. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, they say, all right, we need to get a crew together, the best crew money can buy. Cut to a scene where illegal immigrants are running across the border, and
Right.
and Bowfinger and Ephraim are telling them to get in the trunk or get in the back of their open van while
Yeah.
they're getting shot at by federales and guards. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And then they just take off with whoever dives into the van, and then and and it's funny because you see these guys get acclimated to Hollywood over the course of the movie. I mean, uh, like late in the film, they're discussing a shot that they got of Kit Ramsey on the sly, and then they're talking about like, oh yeah, I decided to do this with the f-stop to get a little, like nice little halo effect around him. And by the end of the movie, they've got their own cells. They're in like these flashy suits, and they're taking calls and they're making deals. And I liked that. I like that they weren't just the stereotypical illegals throughout the movie. So that
yeah,
was funny.
that was a nice touch. I did enjoy that too. But yeah, the scene,
Hmm.
I don't know, something about the scene where they're just like diving into an empty van while
Yeah.
gunfire, is all over the place. That's just. I mean, look, is it politically correct? No. Is it funny? Yeah, I say yes.
Very much so. Yes. Yeah. So everyone's just sort of going up to Kit Ramsey in the street, and they're babbling these paranoid things about aliens and stuff like that, because the movie is about aliens who come to Earth in the form of raindrops, hence the chubby rain. Um, and
Right.
Kit Ramsey, of course, because he's in the Mind Head cult, and their happy premise number one is there are no aliens. Kit's in denial of this, but he's got people coming up all over saying, talking about aliens. So he's like, well, maybe there
Right.
are aliens. I don't know what to think now. I Kit
Right. The
Ramsey.
alien. Yeah, the alien talk triggers him. But there's actually another part in this film that I really liked, where Kit Ramsey is talking to his agent again at this outdoor
Mhm.
cafe, and it's you probably know what I'm talking about, where Kit Ramsey talking about like how he doesn't get nominated for Oscars. He says that, well, I don't get nominated for Oscars because I don't play slave roles, and then they don't nominate black people unless you play a slave role. Like if you're a
Right.
black person, you play a
And
slave role, you
and
get.
if you get whipped.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like if you're black and you play a slave role, you get the nomination. If you're a white guy, you play an idiot, you get the Oscar. Like find
Yeah.
me a role where I play like a mentally challenged slave, and then I'd get the Oscar. But he doesn't say
Right.
mentally challenged. He says,
He says
the
that word that from Tropic Thunder. That you
yeah,
never go full. Uh,
yeah, and that's when it kind of hit me. It's like, oh wow, like what he's saying now is what Robert Downey Jr. says in Tropic Thunder with his full R word
mhm.
rant.
Yep.
It's like, wow, like people were talking about it back then. How you don't, huh? There's a few gems in here that's like kind of ahead of its time.
Well, I mean, it wasn't that long after, I'd say probably the most famous example of that would be Tom Hanks and Forrest Gump. So,
Right. I know people bring up that I Am Sam.
yeah.
There's like a few of those
Peter
where
Sellers
like
was nominated for an Oscar for being there, and he was like a man with mental challenges. So, yeah, I
right.
mean, it's a thing. It's a recurrent thing throughout Hollywood history.
Yeah, I mean,
So
whether Russell Crowe in that movie, Beautiful Mind, that's, I mean, you could sort of say that too.
yeah, sure, yeah, that could be another
But
example.
yeah, and also part of me kind of thought, oh, is this like Eddie Murphy talking about how he doesn't get nominated for Oscars too? Like, because I know there's a good amount of improv in this film, so part of me was thinking, oh,
Mhm.
is it Eddie Murphy speaking from the heart here? I wonder.
Well, I mean, Eddie Murphy by this point in his career, he'd largely done comedies. I don't think he'd done any real dramatic roles. Dreamgirls was still in his future, and comedy is traditionally very underappreciated by the
Mm.
Academy. I mean, there are very few big Oscar nominations for comedic performances. I mean, there was Kevin Kline for Fish Called Wanda. I think he won for that, if I remember correctly, but I can't think of too many others, honestly.
I mean, Annie Hall, and that's all I could think of.
Right. Yeah. I mean, comedy is just so underappreciated, and it is. It can be like tougher than dramatic roles in some ways. I mean, it's a tough thing to make somebody laugh, and it's a tough thing to have a great comedic performance. And Eddie Murphy has a great comedic performance in this movie. I think his portrayal of Kit Ramsey is pretty standard stuff, but his the other character that Eddie Murphy plays in this movie, I think, is a great performance as
Oh,
Jiff.
yeah, we can get into that. Let's talk about Jiff.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Martin, he at one point just getting the all the footage of Kit Ramsey on the sly, it's not quite enough for his needs. So he says, "What we need is somebody who looks like Kit Ramsey, and we can get footage of him, and we can shoot him from behind and have him in scenes with the other actors." So they find this nerdy guy named Jiff, who's also played by A. Murphy, with
Right, because I
glasses
think
and longer hair, and they're like, would you be willing to cut your hair? And he's like, well, yeah, but it's better if somebody else does it.
yeah, because I think at one point, like they did the gorilla thing with Kit Ramsey and messed with his mind so many times, kind
Mhm.
of it kind of he had like a meltdown, like a nervous breakdown. Like at the like there's
Yeah.
one scene where they wanted to film him in a underground garage, and they
Yes.
want to make it sound like somebody's following him. So they put high heels on Bowfinger's dog, and they just
Yeah.
kind of hide behind cars, and of course that triggers Kit's paranoia to the point where he needs to be in the mind head, um, sort of relaxation uh, uh, homes.
Yeah.
So like he's kind of hiding out in Mindhead. So and then Bobby Bowfinger's buddy Dave is like, yeah, I don't know where he is. Like he's off the grid. So now we need. So then they try to find other people to who look like Kit to replace him.
Mhm.
And I do like how they try to they hold auditions for Kit lookalikes. At one point, they
Yeah.
get one guy who is like studied at Juilliard and whatnot, and then Bobby asks him, "Are you in the union?" And he says, "Yes, of course I am." And cut to him getting immediately kicked out of their home.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So he needs he needs somebody naive that he can exploit, and that's where they find Jeff, who's like this ultra nerdy guy, and I think it's one of Eddie Murphy's best performances, honestly. I mean, because
Yeah,
it's so unlike Eddie Murphy. There's none of that swagger that you usually associate with Eddie Murphy.
yeah. Because I mean, when you think Eddie Murphy, you think fast talking, a lot of bravado, a lot of
Mhm.
machismo. You think Kit Ramsey. I think Kit Ramsey
Right.
is like
I mean, well,
Eddie Murphy could
Eddie
play that.
Murphy, he's one of those guys who usually plays like the smartest guy in the room, who's like the fastest, the wittiest, and yeah, and Jiff is so not that, and it's cool to see Eddie Murphy play somebody so different from himself, and it's one of those roles that really makes you realize how versatile Eddie Murphy is, and he's not like buried in makeup the way he is in a lot of his other movies. So that's cool. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, no, it was a really good performance to show how much range he has. I really dug it as well.
Mhm.
And of course, they hire Jiff because he looks just like Kit. And while he's
Mhm.
the lead actor, he also gets to go run errands for them, like go to
Yes, yeah,
Starbucks.
he gets the fun of being a gopher and getting coffee for people.
Yeah,
Uh,
and he's actually more excited about running errands and being a gopher and going on Starbucks runs than he is about actually being in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
I
They,
mean, yeah,
yeah, and so they shoot things with him. They shoot like a topless scene with Daisy, like where she's like trying to seduce the Kit Ramsey character, but of course it's Jiff standing in for him, and like she takes off her shirt in front of him, and he just goes like, "This is awesome." He just reacts like this nerdy guy. And there's also a very funny scene where Daisy has this long spiel about how she'll only do nudity under certain circumstances, like if it's vital for the character and it's important for the plot, and blah blah blah, and blah 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 blah. But I mean, you really realize that she's totally willing to do it for at the drop of a hat, because just
yes,
anything
absolutely.
to get ahead.
Yeah, she's really. You get the impression that she's really like a go getter here. She's really trying to
Yeah,
get herself into this movie as much as possible.
you get the feeling she would do the entire movie topless if it just moved her career forward one iota. So it's
Yes,
not a big deal for her at all. Um,
yes,
and
yeah,
they
and I
also
also
have.
learned.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I was gonna say, yeah, when Eddie Murphy said those lines, when Daisy gets topless, you're doing great, you're gonna be a star. Those were ad libbed, according to
Yes,
IMDb.
yes, yes. Um, and they also have Kit doing things like running across traffic on the LA freeway. And Bowfinger's telling him, "Oh no, don't worry. These are all stunt drivers. Every single one is a stunt driver." And they have him running across traffic, and of course, it's real traffic. It's just people speeding across, and Jiff is nearly getting himself killed. They did that scene in a very clever way. I understand. They just had him. They did close off the highway for real, and they had Eddie Murphy run across the highway, but they just put in all the cars with CGI after. So that's cool.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
pretty neat.
no stunt
Huh.
drivers necessary. And CGI in 1999, I guess it was a state where we could do cars fairly convincingly. So
Movie magic.
movie magic.
Not too shabby.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so the shoot is going well. It's going, but they still need Kit Ramsey in a few scenes if they can get him. They still want to do the guerrilla type of filming, and
Yeah,
then Carol says that, oh yeah, I know where he'll be. He has to be at this clothing store where he's going to do like where he promised to do like a photo shoot for
yeah.
some.
Carol, Christine Baranski's character, she overheard that he was going to be at this clothing store on Friday at 4 p.m. because we when they're shooting a scene on the sly earlier in the movie, they're showing Kit Ramsey clothing uh, that he might want to buy, and they're like, "Well, we'll give this all for you for free if you can come back and let yourself be photographed in the clothing." And he's like, "Well, I'll do that, but you have to pay me for my time." And Carol comes up and she's like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to say anything, but I'm so happy to be working with you, and I love that what you're doing in the movie." And he's just like, "Why is this insane person approaching me? I'm not making a movie." But it's because of
Right.
this that she knows that he's going to be at a certain place at a certain time, so they decide to take advantage of that.
Right. So they do the same thing again where they set up guerrilla style. Uh, Jiff is on the roof of a building and he drops down a microphone. Dave steals a car. He steals Jerry Renfro's cherry car for this shoot. Like Dave is really just
Mhm.
kind of stealing a lot of stuff for this film shoot. Just equipment, film,
Yeah,
the whole Megillah.
a
He's
lot of
pretty
stealing
integral to
going
this whole
on.
thing. A
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
stealing
so much
and
stealing, you guys.
so much stealing.
Um,
And yes,
there's one line I really love. Might be my favorite line in the film, where during one of the scenes when they're approaching Kit Ramsey on the street, and one of them is talking about plutonium because it figures into the plot of Chubby Rain, the movie that they're shooting, and Kit Ramsey immediately goes, "Hey." I have that plutonium. That plutonium is mine, and it has been registered to use for religious purposes. And then they just cut to Steve Martin going, "He's actually got plutonium."
it's
I love
a
that
funny line.
because it's a very funny line, and If you told me that Tom Cruise has plutonium, I would be like, yeah, that sounds plausible. I could see that.
I could see that he could make that happen. Tom
Tom
Cruise,
Cruise
come
could
on,
totally get some plutonium if he wanted to.
he's
That's
got a
probably going to be
plutonium
in the next Mission Impossible movie.
guy. He's got a plutonium guy, definitely.
He's got a plutonium guy. He totally has a plutonium guy on speed dial.
You want plutonium? I can get you plutonium. I can give you
Yeah.
plutonium by 3 o'clock tonight.
He's like,
There are ways, dude.
enough with the hanging off the airplanes and stuff like that. I'm for my next movie, next Mission Impossible. I'm just going to be in the same room as plutonium and irritate myself, and
Oh my
that'll be my
god.
latest life threatening stunt.
Good. Yike. Oof. Indeed. Yeah. So we see them shooting this scene, and we also see uh, Bobby Bowfinger and the crew setting up across the street in a movie theater. And we see Bobby talking to a guy cleaning up in the movie theater, saying, "Hey, who are you?" And Bobby's like, "Oh yeah, no, we were supposed to be here today to do the film shoot. Did so and so not tell you?" And the guy cleaning up's like, "No, I didn't hear anything." That guy cleaning up, John Cho.
Yeah, I recognize he doesn't really get a close up or anything, but I recognized him from by his voice. So it's
Right.
John Cho. This would be the same year as American Pie, right? Wasn't that movie
Uh,
99?
99 or
I
98,
feel like it
but yeah,
was. Yeah,
yeah, I was around that time. But yeah, he was
yeah,
just he
okay,
was just getting started his career.
yeah, yeah. So it's always fun to see somebody in a small role in a movie before they break out in a big way. So yeah,
It's pretty rad. And
so
yeah, so then the scene gets shot. Of course, random people walking up to Kit Ramsey talking about aliens and plutonium. All this, of
yeah,
course, triggers Kit Ramsey, and he has like a nervous breakdown. He runs away. He hops. He didn't hop into a car, but he runs on the side of a bus, which of course the bus has a billboard for the LA Lakers, which also triggers him. Like
yeah.
Kit Ramsey, this poor man. He's just he's just like inundated with all these things that are just triggering his mental illness to like unfathomable uh depths.
He's got a very tenuous grasp on his sanity. Uh, he's having a tough time of it.
Right. And then so then the crew shoots everything, and then the crew has lunch, and that's when we learn that Jiff is actually Kit's brother.
Yeah, they're
'Cause-
complimenting him on how much he looks like Kit Ramsey. He's like, well, that's a talent. I mean, Robert De Niro, he can't look like Kit Ramsey, and Jeff is like, well, it's not that strange. I mean, I am his brother, and he just says it in this offhand way, and everyone at the table is just like, you're actually related to him. Why did this not come up before? And you see when they're leaving the restaurant, uh, Daisy is immediately sliding up to Jiff because she's like, hey, he's this big time Hollywood star's brother. He can get me to the next level. So
yeah.
yeah, she's pretty shameless about it at this point.
Yeah, you can actually see it when they're all having lunch, because when they're having lunch,
Yeah.
Bobby has, I mean, no, Daisy has his arm around Bobby. They're like linked up by arms.
Hmm.
And as soon as Jiff says, "Oh yeah, I'm Kit's brother," like she's staring at him, and she slowly takes his arm away from Bobby, and just
Uh-huh.
and just while staring at him, and so yeah, it's on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then not long after that, Jiff comes in and excitedly tells Bobby Bowfinger, "Oh yeah, you'd never guess what just happened. I just slept with Daisy."
She gave me the works.
Yeah. So, and that's when we have that cute scene of Steve Martin taking her out and saying like, "Did you sleep with Jiff?" And she's just like, "So," and he goes, "Well, I didn't look at it like that." And she's like, "Okay." So, I just love
Yeah,
how it turns on a dime. That was a very funny
yeah,
scene.
yeah. They know what it is. It is what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So then, as the movie goes on, we see another scene where Dave is stealing camera equipment and film equipment. He's been doing this throughout the whole film, stealing all this
Yeah.
equipment because he works at a studio. And as he's putting back the equipment, we see that a security guard noticing him putting this equipment back. So
Hmm.
The security guard looks at the camera. He sees the name Kit Ramsey's on it, and he's like, "Oh, that's interesting." And he immediately goes to Mindhead with this information because he is a member of the Mindhead cult, which is in no way like Scientology.
Yeah. So,
Just, just a happy coincidence.
yep. Any similarities are
Mhm.
are purely coincidental, like it says in the text at the end of the movie.
Right. Yeah. So then we're getting close to the end of the filming this movie. They're out to film the final scene, and Daisy lets Bobby know that she knows that Kit doesn't know he's in this film. They're shooting, and I think she found out because somebody on the crew told her, and of course we see that Dave told her because like she got in good with Dave now too. It's just
Yeah.
like just all these guys just letting everything loose, all this information they're telling you just because just a beautiful woman lets her do the deed.
Yeah,
Crazy,
she's got all the guys in this movie wrapped around her finger. So,
right? And of course,
and
yeah, she says like, I may be from Ohio, but I'm not from Ohio.
yes, yeah, that's a cool bit where we learn that she's a lot more savvy than she lets on. She isn't nearly she's either acclimated to Hollywood really quickly or she was never quite as naive as she was presented in the early scenes. I think it's kind of up to you to decide. I think it's probably funnier if she's just acclimated that quickly. Like she did start out that naive, but then she becomes that jaded and that savvy that quickly. But up to you.
Yeah, up to you. The interpretation's up to you, the viewer.
That's right. So,
Yeah. So then
yeah.
we
So I mean, we're getting towards the film's getting close to finished. We really just have like the big climax to shoot, and they do this out at the L.A. Observatory. Great movie locations. You've seen it in a ton of movies.
right. I think at this point, they've shot like this car chase scene where they've tracked down Kit Ramsey's car, who's in the back, he's in the back
Yeah.
seat, and yeah, they're chasing him down. They're shooting everything. At one point, they have a car driven by the lead actor cut Kit Ramsey off, and Jiff, who's in the trunk of the car, dressed as a space alien, points a ray gun at him. Of course, again, this
Mhm.
triggers Kit. Like again, Kit is just getting just mentally abused throughout this entire film,
Yeah.
and yeah, so then they're able to pull over his car. The cop car comes. The cops are played by Afrim, who's the screenwriter of the film, and another cop who Bowfinger was able to talk into being part of the
He
film
he
because
recruits, yeah. When the cop approaches him, he's like, "Hey, do you have a filming permit?" And Bowfinger manages to recruit him. Is like, "Have you ever considered an acting career?" And we see in the later scenes that he's gotten this cop on his side. Yes.
right because if you're in LA, of course you thought about being in the pictures.
Yeah.
It's that's just how it goes. And
So,
so then we see the cops trying to arrest Kit, and then we see Afrim has like some melting device on his head, so it looks like he's melting from the chubby rain, name of the
mhm.
film. And then we see Daisy pull up in the car, and he takes Kit away to escape. Everything's being filmed, and at this point, I think Kit Ramsey is he's just going with the madness because he's just nothing here makes sense. I guess I am this person they say I am, this Keith guy. Maybe I should just go along with this pretty blonde woman in the car and save Earth from these aliens. I think he's at this point he's like totally lost it, so he's just going along with whatever they're all saying.
Right, right, yeah. So,
And yeah, so then they go to, like you said, they go to the observatory. They go up to where the telescope is, and he's supposed to say his catchphrase, which is "Gotcha, suckers." Which
yeah,
is
and
that's
that's like the big final line of the movie,
right.
and
And
it's like
once
the one thing they still need to get.
right once they get that, the film's over and they've wrapped. So
Hmm.
it's at night now. They have him at the observatory. of he's supposed to say "Gotcha, suckers," and everybody's hanging on to it. Like Bobby Bowfinger says, he's like, "Oh, this is it. This is the moment. This is on the poster, baby. Yeah!" And just as he's about to say "Gotcha, suckers," we see some helicopters come up in the distance. And I don't know about you, but at first I thought it was the cops, and it turns out no, it's the people at Mindhead. Mindhead has helicopters, apparently.
Yeah, that checks out. I
Stories
can
check.
believe it.
Yes, Tom Cruise has plutonium, and certain cults in LA have helicopters, none of which are
Right.
Scientology.
No, no. I mean,
No,
why?
none of
Why
them.
would you think that?
I
Scientology
wouldn't think.
has yachts. They have cruise ships.
Yes,
So,
they
and
have
I'm
half of
sure that
Hollywood.
everyone who works those cruise ships is totally there on a voluntary basis, and there's nothing shady going on there whatsoever.
Absolutely.
I gotta watch that Leah Remini show, by the way.
Oh, the documentary or the show?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I gotta start
that's
watching that. That's I because I know some of the shit that's gone down, but I'm sure I don't know all the shit that's gone down. And holy shit,
some shit
I
has
bet
gone down.
there's some shit that has gone down.
Oh, the stories.
This is stories, yes.
Oof, it gets dark. It gets. That's all I'll say.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. So
Yeah. So Terrence Stamp, the leader of Mindhead, comes out, approaches Bowfinger, sees what's really going on, and of course, Bowfinger immediately says, This film is for. It was only for Madagascar and Iran. It's not. It's not subject to American laws." And
yeah,
Bowfinger immediately knows the jig is up.
yeah.
Cut to, of course, a scene where they didn't get their final shot. Bowfinger has to come clean to everybody, saying, "Yeah, we didn't get Kit Ramsey's permission, and the film is dead." Hmm.
Yep. The end.
That's how it ends, on a downer, like Chinatown.
Yeah.
Forget it, Bowfinger. It's Tinseltown.
Yes. Um,
But yeah. So what ends up happening is, like, everybody's down and depressed. Carol is a little bit more forgiving. She says, "Oh, it's kind of a beautiful lie. Like, he did all this just
mhm.
for us, and he was trying to make it happen, albeit extremely illegally. He was trying to make it
Yeah.
happen." And so what happens is the film crew says, hey, boss, so we were shooting some B-roll. Dave told us to shoot all this B-roll of Kit Ramsey without
Right.
his knowing. Do you want to just look at it? Maybe we could piece
And
something together."
this is a scene where we realize that the illegal immigrants have really gotten acclimated and they've gotten good at their jobs somehow. They've picked up enough working on this film that it's just like, hey, we know what we're doing now, and that's kind of cool to see. I like that twist.
Right. Like, they know about apertures and
Hmm.
lenses and all that jargon. So they're
And
they're pretty good.
they shoot. They've got some footage of Kit Ramsey at a Laker game, and we see him like at courtside seats, and he's got like this 1,000 yard stare. He's like staring at the Laker girls, and you can tell he's just like, yeah, I gotta show it to him. I gotta do that thing, And he's just fighting that compulsion. And then we see footage of him sort of like lurking around a corner, and we don't see the rest of what Bowfinger and the rest of the crew sees, but Bowfinger just gets a huge smile on his face, and he's like, "We've got the end of our movie." And
Hmm.
then we cut to Bowfinger showing this to Terrence Stamp and the head of what is it called, Mindhead, and we see the rest of the footage, and it's Kit Ramsey. He's just like lurking in the stadium after the game as the Laker girls are like leaving, and then Kit Ramsey puts a bag over his head and he comes out with a trench coat and like flashes them and shows it. And then all the Laker girls immediately break out into laughter. So apparently, whatever he showed them underneath his trench coat was not terribly impressive.
Not the
So,
response you want.
no, no, that is not the ideal response.
Yeah,
So,
no one wants to hear laughter when they're showing off the dong.
I guess not. No. So
Not the time for comedy.
no, no, not the ideal response. So
Right.
they basically blackmail them into giving them Kit Ramsey to finish out their film. So
Right. Yeah, I also like how at one point Bobby almost calls their organization mindfuck, but he corrects himself,
uh-huh.
says mindhead. So
Yeah,
again, nothing like Scientology, but
not a
I could
bit, not a bit.
nope. So yeah, cut two. The film gets finished and the film gets released. We see Daisy, Heather Graham's character, arm in arm with Kit Ramsey. Now they're dating, and
Hmm.
yeah, during the film's release, the big red carpet debut. Um, Bobby Bowfinger and Dave and Carol get the cheapo seats in the front row, and they have
Yeah,
to crane their
where
necks
they're
up.
like kind of looking up at the screen in an angle.
Yeah, and yeah, and then you see this look on Bobby's face, like, yeah, I did it. I fucking like, the magic of cinema is taken away with him, where he's like, yeah, I hustled, I scraped, I did numerous illegal things to get this film done, but by golly, it's done. I did it.
Yes.
And yeah, and then there's a big celebration at Bowfinger Studios, aka Bobby's house. Everybody's celebrating, drinking, and we see Daisy is arm in arm with this woman Farah, who is one of the most powerful lesbians in Hollywood.
Yeah. Which, ooh, yeah, Steve Martin working through some stuff about the Anne Heche relationship.
Yeah, yeah, he had some things on his mind. He had some things to say.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so Daisy's willing to even switch sides just to get ahead.
Hey
So
man, do what you gotta do, man.
do what you got to do. Uh,
And yeah, so everybody, and we see, like you said, all the crew members have cell phones now. They're all wearing suits, blazers with t-shirts underneath it. They're all sort of acclimated to the business now. And then we
mhm.
see a FedEx truck has a package for Bobby Bowfinger, which is a nod to something Bobby said in the beginning of the film, where he says, one of these days that FedEx truck is going to stop in front of this house and it's going to give me an envelope. That's how I'll know I've made it. I am somebody.
Right.
So of
That's the
course,
dream.
yeah.
Yeah.
So of course, by the end of the film, the FedEx truck is going to stop by in front of his house, drops him off an envelope, and the envelope
Mhm.
is an offer to shoot a film in Taiwan with Jiff.
Yes, yes, with Jiff, who I guess got billing in the film, and then we cut to them shooting the big climax of their martial arts epic, Fake Purse Ninjas, and we see that most everybody from Chubby Rain is in the film. Carol and Daisy, and even Bobby Bowfinger is on screen now, and he's playing Jiff's brother, and they're playing a martial arts duo, taking on a ton of fake purse ninjas.
Right. We see some horrible kung fu from Jiff as he's like,
Hmm.
kind of fighting but also terrified. but
Yeah,
and he's like, and
he's basically just gesturing, and then all the ninja people are just like flipping around backwards, like they just got hit. So
yeah. There's also one hilarious scene where Jiff walks by a mirror, and in the reflection of the mirror, you see the film crew, and they're
yeah,
like, "No, Jiff, keep going," and then they have to like kind of shoot around
yeah.
that.
I like after Bowfinger and Jiff they come together and he's like, "So, my brother, it is good to see you again." And then we see them start to take on all the ninjas, and they come up to a scene. They come up to like the edge of a platform, and you're expecting them to like jump off the platform in some very impressive thing, but no, they just stop and they just sort of very carefully and very slowly climb down off the platform, and all the ninjas obligingly wait for them. That's
Yes,
very cute.
yeah. All of this while kung fu fighting is playing in the background, because if you're having a karate film, you need kung fu fighting in your film.
It's illegal if you don't.
Yeah, you don't want to go to jail, do you?
No, no. I mean,
No,
they prosecute for that.
that's right. I can't go
So
back to jail, John. I made
no,
enemies.
no. It's yes. All right, no time to get into that story. Um, but so I mean, and that's Bowfinger. It's pretty much a happy ending for everyone involved, except maybe Kit, who's still having problems and being blackmailed. But he's a celebrity, so it's totally okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, he probably should seek professional help and find ways to cope. But
Hmm.
he has big movies out, so that's just as good.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, overall, I still thoroughly enjoyed this film. Like again, there's a lot in there about the film biz and like a lot of insider jokes. If you like live in
Hmm.
Hollywood and you're in the industry, that I appreciate. There's like a lot of stuff in there that I think was before its time, like the Mindhead thing, which of course is not a nod to Scientology at all. The things that
No.
Kit not at all. The thing that Kit Ramsey says about Oscars and needing a catchphrase. I'm trying to make a movie, not a
Hmm.
film. Things like
Yeah.
that. I also one of my favorite lines in the rant was I think he was saying what was it? We was talking about everybody's out to get me and I'm crazy. I guess I'm crazy. And I suppose they didn't put a computer chip in Latoya Jackson's brain. She just acts like that. Like little
Yeah.
things like that. And I suppose Ted Kennedy isn't 1/16th black.
That's out of nowhere. That's he's like, yeah, no, he doesn't look like the other Kennedys.
He's different.
Yeah. So
But
yeah, a
yeah,
lot of
it's
stuff going on.
I mean Eddie Murphy really knocks it out the park in this one. He
Yeah.
really did some amazing things. And according to IMDb, he had a brief 6-week window to shoot this thing because he was in between shooting his movie Life and Nutty Professor 2: The Clumps. And like basically he was pretty busy, but the only reason he did this film was because Steve Martin was in it. He's a huge fan of Steve Martin and always really wanted to work with him.
Yeah. Well, that's a good
So
reason as any to do the movie. Yeah. It says when Murphy sat down with Steve Martin and director Frank Oz, the first thing he did, he said, was that Kit Ramsey should be a black action superstar. Oz then asked if that meant he was making the film, and Eddie Murphy said yes. Steve Martin later joked that Eddie's audition was very good, so that's nice. It worked out okay.
pretty it
Yep.
worked out for everybody.
Hmm.
All right, and yeah, that's our podcast. Bowfinger,
Yeah.
underrated gem of a film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go out and see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
John, what are your thoughts about the film overall?
Overall, I mean, I think it's a good film. I do agree with you. It's an underrated film. Another little bit of trivia that I just came across. Did you see who Steve Martin originally had in mind when he wrote the movie? Who he had in mind for Kit Ramsey?
No, who did he have in mind?
Keanu Reeves.
Hmm, interesting. All
So
right.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, he wanted a more conventional action star. He wanted like a because I think by that point Keanu Reeves had done Speed. That was sometime in the '90s, if I remember correctly. So
Right. And I think The Matrix had just come out at this time.
yeah, I think you're right. That was '99. So yes. So
Okay. Yeah.
he was doing the action movies.
Yeah, he was doing the action. But yeah, Keanu Reeves, that's an interesting choice. That would have definitely had a different tone to it.
That would have been a very different movie. That would have been a very different movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And yeah, so yeah, that's Bowfinger, guys. That's our episode. As
yeah.
always, thanks for listening. And
Hmm.
yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. And join us next week when we talk about the return of SNL with guest host Mr. John Mulaney joining the
Yeah,
Five Timers Club. What?
doing the Five Timers Club thing. Yes, that'll be fun. Um, Always fun to see him come back to SNL. I'll like to see what he does. Really looking forward to the monologue. It'll be interesting to see if we get another Dino Lobster type sketch. I'd love to see him do something with the Please Don't Destroy guys. I think that would be a lot of fun. So
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I
That
could
would
see
be
them meshing really well. So
yeah. They definitely kind of have the same comedic sensibility. So I really like to see what they do together. And
mhm.
LCD sound system. I'm not a huge LCD sound system fan, but I like some of their stuff. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. So that'll be a good one. I mean, I've always found it enjoyable when John Mulaney hosts, so I'm looking forward to that in a big way.
It's going to be a
Um,
hoot and a half.
Hoot and a half. Hoot
Yes.
and a half. So, in the meantime, you can follow us on the Twitter sphere at SNL Nerds Show. You can also follow our individual Twitter accounts. I'm at Trumbull Comic. That's TRUMBULL and the word comic.
And I'm at Darren Credible. That's DARIN Credible. Twitter, Instagram. Follow me.
Yeah. And you can also support the show by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you give us a 5-star review, we will read it on the show because we're just that magnanimous.
Yeah, we're tough but fair. We're generous
Hmm.
with our time.
And you can also contribute to the show financially. You can contribute to our Patreon. Just go over to Non-Productive.com and contribute to the Patreon. Just indicate you're doing it for the SNL Nerd Show.
Yeah, please do. Give us some of that sweet cash. The simoleons,
And
moolah.
as long as you're contributing money, the Kickstarter project for the a book anthology that I'm in is still going on. Just go to Kickstarter.com and just search for the fans are buried tales, and you can find that. We're raising money for a $7,000 goal, and that'll help me get paid. So yeah, please
Mm.
contribute to that.
Yeah, don't you want your boy getting paid? Help your boy get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So
And yeah, that's the episode, guys, I guess. Is there anything else to add? Any
I think that's about it. That's everything I wanted to say. That's everything I wanted to plug. So how are you? Are you doing okay?
I'm all right. I'm okay.
All right.
How about yeah, thanks for asking, man. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
And wow, we're really petering out here.
Well, we don't have to.
Nah, I think it's the best way to go out.
Okay. All right. We'll just peter out. So we'll see you next week with John Mulaney and LCD Sound System and all that. And hope we won't peter out then. But until then,
Nerds out.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.